Good afternoon, and welcome to my first podcast in a series that I'm going to call Life, Universe, and Bowling. My name is Tom Seiler. I'm a lifelong bowler, a competitive bowler for many, many years. And I've had a few friends of mine that have asked me to put together a podcast series to share some of the stuff that's in my head related to technology and bowling and how it fits into a person's individual game to help them be better bowlers. In my first podcast here, I'm going to try to keep these to 7 to 10 minutes long so they're easily digestible. There's something that you can pick up and listen to on the way to the center, maybe get some good information out of. Probably do them once or twice a week for a while until I start to run out of information to share, but that could be a while, quite frankly, because I've already started sketching out the series, and I'm up to about 40-some podcast ideas, and I haven't really even spent a lot of time thinking about it. So some things that I hear from my friends are, obviously, I want to be a better bowler. Who doesn't, right? I've practiced more than most people, but I'm not getting any better. That's a common one. I see a lot of people that practice a lot. And personally, I don't think they understand how to practice or what to practice or maybe what to work on when they practice. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I have good weeks and bad weeks, and sometimes in between weeks. Maybe I have a good month or a bad month. And I don't understand the inconsistency in my game. I feel like every time I walk into the center, it's a different bowling center. Sometimes I stand on 20, sometimes I stand on 30. It doesn't make any sense to me because I'm throwing the same ball. Why is that? I've purchased all the right bowling gear, but I'm not seeing any improvement. I could go buy another bowling ball, but the last 3 I bought didn't raise my average, so why would I do that? Well, the ball companies certainly want you to continue buying bowling balls. I think the pro shop owners probably want to see you continue to buy bowling balls. Center operators want to continue to see you show up, and one of the reasons that we show up is because we want to throw our new bowling ball, right? I hear people talking about using this type of ball or that type of ball on certain conditions, but it never seems to match up to my game. Well, why can they use that type of equipment? They kind of throw it like I do, about the same speed and rub rate, but their ball always sees the lane differently. Why is that? I drilled the same ball my friend has. His strikes all the time, and mine never strikes. I feel like I throw it really well and I don't carry, or I see other people miss their marks constantly, spray it all over the bowling center, and all they do is get 10 all the time. 10 straight back. Miss by an arrow, 10 straight back. Why is that? Can be frustrating, but there are actually some logical reasons why some people strike and some people don't. And it usually has nothing to do with what ball they're throwing, where they're throwing it on the lane, but it has to do with them having an understanding of their game and how their adjustments match up to what they do that creates the maximum potential for them to strike. I average 10 pins higher at this center than that one. Why? Everybody else, all my friends average more at this center, but I can't seem to strike there. Bowling has become frustrating to me because it isn't logical. This one rings true with me, especially because I'm a very, very left-brained person. I want adjustments to be logical. I want things to make sense. I want to understand exactly why something does what it does. I don't just want to take it at face value. Hey, this one struck and that one didn't, so I'm going to use this one. Another question that I hear all the time: why is bowling so hard? Sometimes. And I would say bowling is hard all the time. So if any of those comments pass through your mind from time to time, it's very likely that we are not different. They pass through my mind on a daily basis, at least on the days that I bowl, which is not as much as it used to be. I bowl once a week now, sometimes twice. I do definitely enjoy the game more now that I bowl a little bit less. I look forward to bowling nights. I look forward to hanging out with my friends. I look forward to throwing some strikes, playing with my new bowling balls. But not everybody shares the same love for the game that I do. I know a lot of people that have been bowling for a lot of years that are very frustrated with the game. Some people are quitting the game. We don't want to see that. So we want to make sure you understand your game and the components of the game and how to make those two work together for maximum enjoyment. Bowling sometimes can feel very, very easy and sometimes very hard. I get that. But the more you know about yourself, the bowling environment, your equipment, the game itself, the easier it becomes to navigate. What changes you make in your bowling game are very personal. There's tons of good content out on the internet. I'm not trying to replace that. You probably hear me say that about 10 times. I'm trying to put some content out there that instead of talking about this layout or that layout or talking about this surface or that surface, it talks very specifically about how understanding a concept and understanding the bowling environment and understanding yourself, you marry those three things together and you can have a very successful outcome, because every adjustment that you make in bowling is very personal to you. So let's start here about the basics in bowling equipment, what you should know about yourself and your equipment to help your bowling scores. Do you know your positive axis point? I know mine. It's kind of cheating, but I do know my positive axis point, or PAP. Do you even know what it is? We'll talk about that. If you don't know what it is, that's okay. A lot of people don't. Some pro shop owners don't even, or pro shop operators, I'll call them PSOs as we get to know each other a little bit better, don't necessarily know the positive axis point of each one of their bowlers, which in my opinion is criminal. You have to know some basic fundamental things about the way that you let go of a bowling ball so that you can make choices about how you lay out bowling balls and what bowling balls you put in your bag to help you have more fun with the game and throw more strikes. If you don't know what a positive axis point is, again, that's okay, but you're going to want to understand it before you buy another bowling ball, period. Full stop. Don't buy another bowling ball if you don't know your PAP. Ask your pro shop operator, hey, do you know my PAP? If they say no, run, don't walk to another pro shop operator. And don't walk in and say, hey, I want to drill a new bowling ball. Here's my PAP. Walk in and say, hey, I want to drill a new bowling ball, and they better ask you some basic questions about your game. They better ask you for your PAP, or they better ask you for a ball that you throw and put an armadillo on it, or a tri-square, or whatever method it is that they use to find your PAP. They need to find it. Do not allow them to put a drill bit in the press until they understand it and they know it. They're doing you a disservice if they do. Why do I need to know my PAP? Why don't I just have my ball driller or my pro shop operator know it? Well, the next time you go to your bag when you're practicing, you should know it. You should understand it, because you need to know what layout or what ball you're picking out of your bag to try to make an adjustment. Do I want more hook or less? Earlier hook or later? Those sorts of things. If you're practicing and your ball doesn't do what you expect, your next ball choice should be made with the knowledge of whether it's going to be stronger or weaker, earlier or later, continuous or angular, etc. Likely you see where I'm going with all of this. Trial and error is very much a fun thing. I love to do it in practice. I like to take a ball that should not work on a particular condition and try to make it work. To me, that is the ultimate piece of knowledge to put in your game as to how to tweak your game to make something work when it shouldn't. Because when you have the one in your hand that should work, you may have to make small tweaks to make it work. Again, trial and error is fun, but informed selection without the error portion is a lot more fun because you strike more and your scores are higher. So with that being said, some bowlers hit their target most of the time. I fall into that category, right? I'm a pretty decent bowler, I think. Good bowlers, emphasis on good, hit their target with the same speed most of the time. So we've got target and speed. Okay, I see what you did there. You added a variable. Very nice. Really good bowlers, emphasis on really good, hit their target with the same speed and release most of the time. There's that release part being added in. You're piling on. You're adding on to what you started with. Very clever. Very good bowlers hit their target with the same speed and release most of the time using the right bowling ball, whatever that means. We'll learn more about what that means later. Very, very good bowlers hit their target with the same speed and release most of the time using the right bowling ball and the right starting position. Extremely good bowlers hit their target with the same speed and release most of the time using the right bowling ball, the right starting position, and they strike more than they don't. Okay, so we've added a bunch of things on top of each other, and now we've added one that's results related. So that one's kind of a little bit out of your control. Very nice. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to explain that bowling isn't just about A to B hitting a target, A to B hitting a target. Realistically, while A to B might be all that's in your brain when you're releasing a bowling ball, you've already made decisions about what ball's in your bag, what ball's in your hand, what surface is on it, what core, where you're standing, where you're starting, where you're targeting, what your release point is going to be. Maybe you've got a couple different rev rates that you use or a couple different ball speeds that you use. You've already made all those decisions before you go up there, right? The key is that bowling is complicated. It's complicated even for very good bowlers. When you can break down that complicated subject matter into pieces and better understand each of the pieces, then you're no longer trying to boil the ocean. You're no longer trying to think about 30 things at a time. You're thinking about one thing, which clears your mind and allows you to make better shots. In these conversations, and I'm already at 11 minutes here, I will break down the information into digestible 5 to 10 or 12-minute sessions that you can listen to on the way to the center. I'll organize them into categories like equipment, terminology, layouts, ball selection, lane play, oil patterns, getting lined up, transition, bowling on the bird, increasing carry, and even how to make more spares. The idea isn't to replace all the great bowling content on the web. There's a lot of it out there. There's some real crap, but there's a lot of really good bowling content out there. I'm not trying to replace any of that. I am simply trying to add to it a personal touch of how does this technology integrate with me as a person so that I understand how to make my game better. The idea is to make this easy to digest content so you can increase your bowling knowledge. That's what this is all about, right? And hopefully your scores at the same time without disrupting your daily routine. I don't want to give you an hour-long video every day that you have to memorize because you're not going to remember it. I know I wouldn't. I'm trying to give you 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15, a week or twice a week that you can stick in your head and work on one thing when you go to practice or one thing when you go to the center for league night, whatever it is. Since I'm a technical person, I lean more toward the logical conversations. I like logic. And the technical aspects of equipment choice, equipment preparation, lane play, etc. As a nearly 55-year-old professional problem solver, that's what I do in my day job. I fix things. I work for an IT organization, a very large IT organization that works for other very large IT organizations to fix problems that nobody else has been able to fix yet. So I'm used to working in very, very complicated environments with a lot of levers and a lot of factors and a lot of things pulling in different directions. What I'm trying to get to here is that I'll add an aspect of introspection and decision-making clarity to some of these conversations. If you've got 5 variables, let's eliminate the 3 that we can eliminate, knock it down to 2, and work on one of those 2 variables at a time so that we can get very quickly from point A of 5 variables to point B of picking the one right adjustment to make your game work better. It's not about an inability to make adjustments. Being a good bowler, I think most of us have a lot of different adjustments that we make. Adding this knowledge to your game is about making the right adjustment at the right time, which adjustment to make. A couple of housekeeping items, one big one in particular. I am not a USBC certified coach. You'll hear me say that over and over again. I was a high school coach for several years, a couple decades ago. Pat on the back, good for me, yay. It was a lot of fun. There was not a good roadmap for that because high school bowling was very, very new when I coached. We felt our way through the dark, and I think I was pretty good at it, but it's not something that I want to do again. I bowled my first professional tournament 34 years ago in 1991. Again, fun, but hardly a credential, thinking that I was about minus 250 in that tournament. And I might be actually a little bit generous there. I know I was minus a lot. I don't remember what it was. I can tell you exactly who I crossed with. I can tell you what I threw, where the center was. I can tell you that the lanes hooked more than I've ever seen lanes hook in my life, at least at that point. A lot of fun. I've been in the sport my whole life. I ran a pro shop for nearly 15 years as a second job. I've probably drilled over 10,000 bowling balls in my life for literally thousands of customers. I drilled them for low-level bowlers, high-level bowlers, professional bowlers, national touring pros, regional pros. I drilled a lot of bowling balls. I was one of the first internet-based pro shops, so I didn't have a brick-and-mortar place. I know, shame on me, right? But I did a lot of technical things that you couldn't find back then in most of the IPSIA certified bowling centers. Most of the IPSIA certified bowling center brick and mortar pro shops had a guy in them that was 65 or 70 years old, and he was really good at throwing the ball up the track, probably good at one grip that he hadn't changed in 35 years, and he probably died drilling bowling balls a little bit too big in the thumb and selling a box of tape with them. I saw a lot of that. I'm not knocking on those guys, but what I am saying is the game passed them by 10 times over. And they were still the authorities back then when I started drilling bowling balls in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. When I started doing this as a more technical thing, as bowling balls changed, as the sport changed, as lane machines changed, the game evolved very quickly, and a lot of those guys didn't evolve, which is why I had a list of customers longer than I could possibly ever work with. I ultimately quit bowling in 2008 for a while. I quit the PBA. I quit and sold my pro shop because I just needed to get away from the game for a while. I'm glad I did. All of this information comes back to the fact that I am not a certified coach. I am not going to make your physical game better. None of these things make me an authority on the sport, but they do give me a perspective that is very, very likely unique. This is a place, again, to learn about the game. We're not going to fix your stance, determine your left eye dominance, figure out how to get your swing looser, move the starting position of your ball. There are some great certified coaches out there for that. Some that are not so great, but there are a lot of great certified coaches out there. And I've worked with some exceptional coaches that knew the game very well. Find one, cling to them, worth their weight in gold. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm here to help you understand yourself and the bowling environment in a way that arms you for the unknown the next time you walk into a bowling center. So with a ridiculously overtime first podcast, I'm going to cut it off there. Again, my name is Tom Seiler. Life, Universe, and Bowling is the name of the podcast. We're going to put this out there, some free ones and a few of them on Patreon. We'll see how all this goes. My next podcast is going to be called The Bowler's Bill of Rights. I think you'll enjoy it. And I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you all.